Hello, and today we're doing Premier League predictions for match day number 38 of the 2020 to 21 season. It's here, people, the final day of the season. It's the final countdown. Do. That is right. And what is the song of the week whilst we're singing those rhythmic tunes? It is going to be To Be Young by Anne Marie. Fall in love, have a we're on our own. But I guess this is what it feels like to be young. Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. We're on a rest, but I guess this is what it feels like to be young. That will be in the description, of course. But what is the colour of the week? It's bright, or maybe dark, who knows? Pink. And the theme of the week, we're doing musicals this week, and it is West Side Story. A romantic tale, of course. And that is interesting because, of course, not just one story will be talked about this week. The Premier League 2020 to 21 story. It will be shutting its pages. It will be coming to an end. So, what is the implications, the Premier League standings right now? I will tell you them going into this final game week of the season. City won the league, of course, weeks back after their dropping of points. Manchester United against Leicester, 83. So they can get up to 86 if they get that win at Everton, against Everton, I should say, at the Etihad. Then we've got in second, United, 71. So they can get up to 74 with a victory over Wolves. Chelsea, 67. They can get up to 70 if they can beat Villa. Liverpool, obviously no, it's in their hands. As long as they get a result against Crystal Palace, they can get to 69 points. Leicester in fifth, the same points as Liverpool, but a worse goal difference by +4. So it's going to be tight between those two. West Ham, 62 points. Spurs, 59. Everton in 8th with 59 as well, but a worse goal difference than Tottenham. Arsenal still with an outside chance. And also, there's the news that in the 7th position, there will be the Conference League for the Europa League, like the Europa Conference. Why they're adding another division and another award for 7th, I don't know. Because, Leicester won the FA Cup, so surely that gives another Europa League spot to another team because they're already in the Europa League, Leicester. So I'm not really sure how that works, to be honest. And also, City won the Carabao Cup. Isn't it that whoever wins the Carabao Cup gets Europa League and City have already got Champions League? Another spot for the Europa League? I don't know. But apparently 7th is enough for Europa or some sort of form of it, as this conference is called. So it is tight, basically. And there is a chance, very much so, for Arsenal. Leeds, it's a tiny, tiny chance, but unlikely because they would need to win their game against West Brom and then hope that Arsenal drop points and Everton get a really bad result and Spurs lose 50-0. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's very, very tight. But Arsenal in 9th with 58, Leeds 56, then in 11th, Aston Villa. They can't go anywhere else unless... no, they actually can't go anywhere else. 11th for Aston Villa, great season for them, 52. 45 for Wolves, they can't get anywhere else unless, of course, Palace win or get a point. No, if they win and then Wolves lose and then Southampton win, I don't know. There's a few scenarios, basically, but in 13th, Palace, 14th, Southampton with 43, 15th, Newcastle, 42, 16th, Brighton, 41, 17th, Burnley, 39, and, of course, Fulham in 18th with 28. They're down. West Brom down with 26, and Sheffield United down with 20. So, yeah, all the relegation spots confirmed. Most of the things confirmed, like the title, but it's still very much down to the wire for this Europa League and Champions League battle. So, before we get into our predictions for this week, let's look back at how we got on in week 37. Thanks for the comments in the video, by the way. We got some from Ballum, so great to see those comments, and that meant that you've been added into the Predictions League, and you scored yourself this week a very respectable 14 points. So that does put you in 4th position going into this final game week of the season. I say 4th, I meant 5th. So that's 14 points for Ballum in 5th. 4th is Nathan with 20. Then Jack is on third with 56. But the big question is, how did Douglas do? Well, he actually had a decent week, but not as decent as me. So 9 points for Douglas, which puts him as an overall total of 702. He's joined the 700 club, but what could I do about it? Well, last week I scored myself a decent score of 14. So, did I? Or did I? No, 15. 15, that's the one. So 14 for Ballum, 9 for Doug, and 15 for me. So what does that mean? It means we're level. I don't believe the scenes. It's 702 for me, 702 for Douglas. We're joint first going into the final 10 games. Oh, absolute drama. So, yeah, I'm afraid, Jack, you can't win at this point. Nathan, 20 points, not good enough. And Ballum, fair enough, you were a latecomer. You got to give them credit there. But that is the Predictions League going into the final game week of the season. And there's some big, big games in this Champions League race. Of course, fans are here once again for this game week to see their teams out and get that season finale and try and get the best points out of it, basically, for the matches. But let's get into my predictions this time. And I think it will be interesting, to be honest. There's some quite tight games. So let's start off with a less tight game, you'd imagine. But who knows, in terms of club size, maybe. Although I say that, they've not been great this season, and that's Arsenal. They faced Brighton, and in the reverse fixture, it was actually not a great game. Not one that goes down in the memory, I would say, but still a decent win for Arsenal. Lacazette with a key goal to get the result. And, you know, it was one of those games where you just think, like, come on. Like, this has got to be better. So, I just feel right now that this game could be a bit more exciting because of those Arsenal fans in the stadium. But they have had an awful season and they've struggled to beat these teams like Brighton and like, you know, Burnley this season. So maybe we could see an upset. But I'm going to go with an Arsenal win. I think they'll just have enough to get the 3 points rather than, you know, Brighton to get the draw. So I'll say Arsenal 2, Brighton 1. Don't think Lacazette's scoring this time, though. I think the first goal in the game for the Gunners will be scored by none other than Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And then the second goal, let's say it comes from the defender. That is Kieran Tierney. So 2-0 to the Arsenal. And Brighton get back a late consolation. And that is scored through not Danny Welbeck, the former Arsenal man, because he's ruled out with injury. Instead, Adam Lallana. 2-1 though, it finishes at the Emirates to the Gunners. And will that be enough for Europe? Well, I'm not sure it will. Let's calculate that at the end. Next is Villa against Chelsea. This could be tight, but I'm just not going for that in the scoreline because I think Villa have got a chance of a clean sheet here. It's either going to be that or I think they're going to concede a hatful. Because Chelsea have got so much riding on this game. They know they need to get, you know, a win and keep destiny in their own hands. It is in their hands to an extent because that win against Leicester was so massive. But I think Chelsea are going to do it. And I think that it could be Villa 0, Chelsea 3. Or, you know, with the way this season's gone, it could equally be Villa 3, Chelsea 0. But no, we'll go with that. And we'll say the goal scorers for Chelsea going to be, first of all, the defender. Because you've got to remember, Chelsea are going to rest some players because they got the Champions League final coming up. Alonso to play, let's say that, and score the first one of the day. The second goal for Chelsea, Jorginho with another skip and run with his penalty, hop and skip. Then the third goal for Chelsea to seal it off in style. Off the bench, I'll go for a goal from Callum Hudson-Odoi. All right, now we've got the matchup between Fulham and Newcastle. And going into this one, Fulham know that it's just pride they're playing for. They did, of course, get relegated against Burnley a few weeks back. And it's just not been a good season for Scott Parker's men. But they've got to bounce back and rebuild. But they just need to kind of find that formula, that winning formula to stay in the Premier League. But Newcastle have done that this season. And a lot of that has got to be thanks to the likes of Joe Willock and, you know, Almiron and Callum Wilson. But Wilson obviously still, I think, out with an injury. So They'll be out without him in this game. But it is the sort of game that can just look quite boring. Neither side have got anything to play for. So I think it's just going to peter out and it'll be a 1-1 draw. Fulham 1, Newcastle 1. And the Fulham goal scorer, I think, will be Bobby Decordova-Reid. But the Newcastle goal scorer, let's say Matt Ritchie. Yeah, we'll go for it. Then Leeds against West Brom is next. And I think this might be a Leeds win because they got home fans. West Brom, they've been awful this season and they are deservedly going down, but they really were just leaky against West Ham. It's not a bad goal, to be fair, from Pereira, but it should have gone down as a Souček own goal. It does take a nick off the Czech Republic international, but West Brom, they've just not played an attractive enough football this season, and Matheus Pereira has been all right, but yeah, it's just not been good. And this is the kind of game that you feel like West Brom will struggle because Leeds on the break are so good. And to be fair, Leeds have not been as impressive at home as they have away from at home. But I still back Leeds for this one. Leeds 2, West Brom 0. And the goal scorers here will be, in my opinion, first of all, Jack Harrison, and then Alioski. Then it's a game between Leicester City and Spurs. Now this one is a big one, obviously, for Leicester because they want to get Europa League / Champions League. Champions League is still in reach, but it's going to be tight. They need to just rely on other results, basically. I need to actually look at the permutations because it's quite complex with the fact that all these teams are they're fighting for each other and they're fighting for the same goal, really, for that European qualification. So, basically, in that Leicester game, it's big for Spurs. Now, they need to get a result. They simply do. They need to try and do something. Leicester obviously now know that they're +4 behind Liverpool on goal difference, not on points though. And I think it's if Spurs win their game with Leicester, that will really help out West Ham, and they basically will lose out on Europa League. I think West Ham. So if they lose to Saints and Tottenham win, then West Ham will bottle it. But I don't think they will do that. But Leicester need to beat Tottenham and then hope that Chelsea don't get a result at Villa Park, a win to get the Champions League. And then Leicester, a win for them would open the door for Everton because Spurs need to lose in their Everton's late push because they have a better goal difference. So it is very confusing at this point. But Everton need to try and beat Man City as well. Ultimately, this game is massive for both sides. Spurs haven't had a great season. Kane might be leaving. We don't know. And it's just not been good. Another final, another loss in it, and no looking like the Champions League, which is not good for Tottenham. So it's all coming down to this final game. And it's a bit like last season. Manchester United were trying to save some consolation on a pretty bad season last time. But this time United have had a great season. It's Spurs in their position also going to the King Power. But I just fancy this will be a Spurs win because, Leicester do bottle it at the end of this kind of season. I know it's a bit harsh on them. They've got the FA Cup and fair enough for winning that. But I just feel they'll be too hurt by that loss at Chelsea and they'll lose this one again. Leicester 0, Spurs 1. And the only goal, Harry Kane. Now we've got a game between Liverpool and Crystal Palace. We know Liverpool are very much in control after their win against Burnley and, of course, the dramatic winner against West Brom. They got some massive points, but they still need to win to guarantee. So it's so big for the Reds. And Palace have been a team that have been Liverpool's bogey team in recent seasons. I remember that game on the final day of the season or near the final day, and Liverpool were trying to win the league under Steven Gerrard, when he was at the club, I should say. And they bottled it from 3-0 down. Dwight Gale, unbelievable scenes. But no, fair enough. Liverpool have been very good in the last few seasons. Not this season, though, in terms of where they expect to be in those title positions. But still, Champions League would be that next best thing, really. And they need to secure it. But Palace, their form has been a bit up and down. They got the win against Villa and then crashed back down to reality against Arsenal. So I feel like this is the sort of game that Liverpool can get a really good result in. At Anfield as well, they've missed those home fans and they'll get that back for the final day. So that is going to be big. Liverpool are going to get the result. Liverpool 4, Crystal Palace 0. And it will be harsh on Roy Hodgson, who's had an amazing managerial career, but I think this is going to be a tough one for the Eagles to get something from, especially if Benteke is missing out. So goals for Liverpool in this game, I think, will come from the first one, Sadio Mane. Then Nat Phillips get his second Premier League goal for Liverpool. The third goal of the game, let's go for Trent Alexander-Arnold. And then the fourth goal, it's Sadio Mane once again. Now it's the game between City and Everton. And City have won the league. Everton, an outside chance of Europa League football under Ancelotti. And they've come a lot of, distance this season, Everton. You've got to give them credit in terms of their performances at times, but it's been so inconsistent, as always with Everton. But it might just be enough. And Ancelotti's got them going. They started the season so strongly, and they have struggled to keep that going. But they've still had a good squad. Rodriguez has been in and out of the team with, injuries and unfortunate injuries that you just can't really control. So it's not been great at this kind of stage of the season for Everton. But, the game against Wolves, nice to see them fans back. And Rodriguez, was struggling to get involved in that one. But at least Richarlison got the winner. And he always scores against Wolves, it seems, the Brazilian. But I think this is the kind of game City could just whip Everton. And I know that you would say, oh, well, they'll rest their players for the Champions League final. And that is a possibility, of course. But I think that City will want to go out on a bang. And, of course, the last Premier League game for Sergio Aguero. So, he will want to start the game. Whether Pep Guardiola's, tinkering will let that happen, we don't know. But it will be interesting. I think City are the stronger team on the day. City 3, Everton 0. I'd love to see Aguero get a final goal. I'm not sure how he's doing for injury and fitness, but let's say he scores anyway. The first goal of the game. Second goal of the game for the Citizens, I'm going to say, comes from Kevin De Bruyne. I'm going to go for. And then the third goal, Ferran Torres. All right, now it's Sheffield United versus Burnley. And this sees, obviously, Sheffield United, managed by Higginbotham. He's going to struggle, I think, next season, and they probably will maybe get in a new manager, but Sheffield United have just underwhelmed in every aspect of the word. So, yeah, it's not good, and they'll want to end on a high at least for that, championship season next time. They've got their fans back. I'm sure they won't be happy with their players who've just not been good enough this season, but it's a final hurrah against Burnley, who, if you had one team to pick to play on the final day and you want to kind of take the gloss off, or put the gloss on, I should say, of a really bad season, it's not to play Burnley. Burnley are so frustrating to play against. They just defend and they just, frustrate, and they have aerial duels and they win those duels and they get results. And it's effective, fair play, but it's so frustrating to be up against. So, yeah, it's not pleasant really for the Blades, but they'll still go with this with every hope they can win. Burnley have had a decent season. Chris Wood has ended the season pretty well. And I think that he can score again here. But ultimately, I think that this is the kind of game that won't go down in history. But Burnley will still take the win. Sheffield United 0, Burnley 2. And goals coming from, first of all, Chris Wood. And second of all, we'll go for Dwight McNeil. Then it's West Ham against Southampton. And this is another big game. West Ham, they simply have to get 3 points here because they have just fallen away at the last stage of the season. It looked for a long time like they'd get the Champions League football, but now it's Europa League looking more likely. It's a big win for West Ham, obviously, at the Hawthorns, but the win for Liverpool at Turf Moor is just making it a bit more difficult, West Ham. So they need those, points to catch up with Liverpool, 4 points behind, and they need to just beat Southampton. So Southampton have been quite bad this season defensively, it's got to be said. Going forward, they've got, Che Adams, who's been a really good prospect, but he might miss this one. And Danny Ings has been out of the season, up and down with injury, but also he's been lethal at times. So, yeah, they've got them attacking threats. James Ward-Prowse has been quite good this season, but defensively there's a problem. And with the West Ham, we thought this season would go into it really, energised, but maybe would struggle and be in the relegation fight after last season. But that's been the complete opposite. David Moyes has done a great job in that team, so you've got to give him all the credit. But obviously the Hammers fans are back for this one. The West Ham fans do often get on the back of the players, so their season's been amazing. They haven't got a lot to complain about, but when it's such a nervous game like this, when you know that Europa League football is on the line. Let's see how that affects the West Ham players. But I think they'll do enough just to win the game. West Ham 3, Southampton 2. First goal of the game, I think, will come from the forward, Michail Antonio. Then Southampton equalise through Redmond. West Ham get their second goal of the game, and that will come through Jesse Lingard. But West Ham get pegged back again. Southampton not giving up without a fight, and their equaliser, Yannick Vestergaard. But the winner for West Ham to quite possibly secure them Europa League football next season. Of all people, it's going to be Craig Dawson. Alright, now we move on to Wolves against Manchester United, and this of course sees the final game for Nuno Espirito Santo. It's also the final game this week for Hodgson, but I think Santo was a bit more unexpected. We knew that Hodgson was coming towards the end of his career, and obviously Sam Allardyce chose to leave West Brom due to personal reasons, due to the fact that he thinks he's still a short-term manager, whatever that means. But yeah, that's an interesting one from Nuno. So he wants to end on a high, and Wolves have had a reputation of doing well against the Big Six in previous seasons. This season has been a nightmare, and they've been hurt by injury, you've got to say. The transfer from Jota did hurt them as well, and to Liverpool, he's really been a key part of the way they played in previous seasons, just driving through that attack. And Jimenez obviously finishes off the chances, but they've still given a stab at it. They've got Fabio Silva thrown into it, which is always going to be tough to live up to Jimenez's big title. But at the end of the day, it's all right. It's not great from Wolves, and they've set themselves such high standards. They've kind of not, fitted to those. But this is a tough game. Though, I do feel Man United will have one eye on the Europa League finals. So maybe it's a chance for Nuno to end with a bang. Wolves 2, Man United 1. Bruno will get the first goal of the game, once again, from a penalty. It's what he does, and it's what he's effective at. But Wolves will get the goals to turn it around in Nuno's favour. With the first goal from the midfielder, Ruben Neves. He scored a cracker against Man United last season. And then we've got the goal coming for Wolves from Connor Cody, who maybe could be involved in Euro 2020 for the Three Lions. Thanks for watching my Premier League predictions for match day number 38, the final day, the final countdown. It is all ending here, lads. So get your score predictions in the comment section below. 3 for the correct result, then it's 5 for the goal difference and the result, and of course 8 for the correct scoreline. It's how we end the season. It's how the story comes to an end. But it's been a pleasure doing Premier League predictions on this channel this season. And of course, if you didn't check out my earlier videos of the season, we had a bit of a technical difficulty where we had to switch between channels. So Roberto Hollis is, a finished channel, but I still got my Premier League early season predictions and, game week 5, game week 7, game week 9, etc. Early week predictions. But we migrated onto this Roberto the Hornet channel, and we've carried it on. So yeah, check out all my content of that, of course. Smash a like on this one, and not too far in the distant future, we'll be reacting to when the season ends, my table predictions. How do we get on? Well, we'll find out in a little bit. But thanks for watching once again. Get yours in the comments, and we will shout out the best ones. Bye-bye.